Hey guys, something wild is happening online right now. Open any health video or scroll through food debates, and you'll see two groups shouting at each other.
One side says seed oils are straight up poison, industrial chemicals that are silently destroying your heart and flooding your body with inflammation.
That's complete nonsense. The actual science shows these oils are protective. So who's right?
Here's the crazy part. Both sides are pointing to real studies. This debate has been raging for over 60 years, one of the longest-running fights in nutrition science.
By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what the evidence says about your heart, inflammation, and what you should actually do in your kitchen. We are saving the most important finding, the one that changes everything, for the very end.
If you've ever been confused about cooking oils, drop a comment right now and tell me which side you've been hearing more. And if this topic matters to you, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm push videos like this to more people who need the truth. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a seed oil? Seed oils are vegetable oils pressed from the seeds of plants. Think soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, and safflower oil. Olive oil and avocado oil are different. They come from the fruit, not the seed. The star ingredient in most seed oils is linoleic acid, an omega-6 polyunsaturated fat. It makes up about 50 to 60% of these oils. Humans have eaten small amounts of linoleic acid for thousands of years from nuts and seeds. But in the last 100 years, thanks to industrial food processing, our intake has skyrocketed. Scientists noticed this massive shift and started asking the big question, is this a problem? Quick question for you. Have you already switched away from seed oils because of what you've seen online? Let me know in the comments. The heart disease question. 60 years of evidence. This is where the story gets really interesting and a little messy.
Back in the 1960s, the logic seemed simple. Saturated fat raises cholesterol. Cholesterol causes heart disease. So if we replace saturated fat with polyunsaturated fat from seed oils, heart attacks should drop.
Clean and logical. In 2010, Harvard scientists reviewed every randomized controlled trial available and found that replacing saturated fat with polyunsaturated fat from seed oils reduced coronary heart disease events by 19%. Every 5% increase in polyunsaturated fat cut heart disease risk by about 10%. Then in 2014, another Harvard team tracked over 310,000 people across 13 big studies. Higher linoleic acid intake was linked to a 15% lower risk of heart disease and a 21% lower risk of dying from it. In 2017, the American Heart Association reviewed all the evidence and concluded that replacing saturated fat with polyunsaturated vegetable oil reduces cardiovascular disease risk by around 30%. Basically the same benefit you get from statins in many cases. The consistent message from the data is this: when it comes to heart health, the real comparison isn't seed oil versus olive oil. It's seed oil versus butter, lard, or coconut oil. And on that comparison, the science is clear. Seed oils come out better. If you're still using a lot of butter or coconut oil for cooking, I'd love to hear why in the comments. No judgment, just curious what made you choose that. The inflammation claim, the one that went viral. Now we get to the part that exploded all over social media. The argument goes like this. Linoleic acid turns into arachidonic acid in your body, which then creates inflammatory molecules. More seed oil equals more inflammation equals more chronic disease.
It sounds believable on paper. There's just one problem. It hasn't held up in actual human clinical trials.
Your body tightly controls the conversion from linoleic acid to arachidonic acid. Even when scientists increased linoleic acid intake in trials, blood levels of arachidonic acid didn't reliably go up. A 2024 review and a 2025 study of nearly 1,900 people using actual blood tests both found the same thing. Higher linoleic acid was linked to lower inflammatory markers and better cardiometabolic health, not worse. So why does the internet keep saying seed oils cause inflammation? Most of those claims come from rodent studies that used extreme, unrealistic doses. Humans don't eat like lab rats, and our metabolism handles linoleic acid differently. Plus, both seed oil consumption and chronic disease rose in the 20th century. But so did sugar, ultra-processed food, and sitting all day. Blaming everything on one ingredient isn't what the data shows. Has the inflammation argument ever made you avoid seed oils? Tell me honestly in the comments. The finding I've been waiting to show you for decades, almost all the research relied on food questionnaires, people trying to remember what they ate. Those are notoriously unreliable. In 2019, an international team decided to skip the questionnaires completely. They measured linoleic acid directly in people's blood. Real biomarkers. 30 cohorts. Over 30,000 people. The result was crystal clear. People with higher levels of linoleic acid circulating in their blood had significantly lower risk of cardiovascular disease and lower overall mortality. This wasn't based on what people said they ate. It was based on what was actually inside their bodies. The pattern is consistent across different populations, different measurement methods, and decades of research. Mind-blowing, right? If this part surprised you, drop a in the comments so I know. Why is there still so much debate? If the evidence is this consistent, why are people still arguing? Because one older study raised a legitimate open question. Some researchers at the NIH are still studying what they call the oxidized linoleic acid hypothesis. The idea that when seed oils are heated to very high temperatures over and over during industrial processing, they can create harmful oxidation products. Not the oil itself in normal use, but what happens to it under extreme repeated heating. A major 2026 review in Frontiers in Nutrition looked at everything and concluded human studies do not support the claim that linoleic acid in normal diets is harmful. But whether heavily reused, industrially processed oils create problematic compounds is still genuinely open. That's not both sides are equal. The weight of evidence is strongly on one side. But good science stays honest about what isn't fully settled yet.
The most consistent finding across 60 years is about substitution. It's not eat more seed oil, it's what are you replacing?
When people swap seed oils for saturated fat like butter or lard, cardiovascular outcomes get better in study after study. The inflammation claim hasn't held up in human trials at normal doses. Here's what 60 years of research actually teaches us. Linoleic acid is not a toxin. The inflammation story is biologically interesting, but it hasn't survived real-world testing in humans at the amounts people actually eat. And the Sydney study taught us something important. One unusual trial with extreme dosing doesn't erase a large, consistent body of evidence. Science is built on the overall pattern, not the single outlier. So, what should you actually do? Use seed oils in normal home cooking if you want. They're not the villains social media makes them out to be. Just don't reuse the same oil over and over at screaming hot temperatures for deep frying. That's a different situation. And remember, the biggest wins still come from eating more vegetables, getting good protein, moving your body, and not overeating ultra-processed junk. If this video gave you clarity, do me a huge favor. Hit the like button right now. It helps more people see the actual science instead of the shouting matches. Subscribe if you want more episodes that go this deep into what the evidence really says, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Drop your biggest takeaway in the comments. Was it the blood biomarker data? The inflammation trials? The history? I read every single comment. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. See you in the next episode.